What is going on, everyone, and welcome to a different kind of video, but this one is more in relation to our Season of Discovery adventures and what that might entail as far as our content. Our current content at the moment of me making this video is BFD. Further ado, I want to get in to talk about a dungeon that not many people either know about, have forgotten, that we might see in Season of Discovery potentially soon. Within the gates of Stormwind, everyone knows that there is a single dungeon called the Stormwind Stockades, and it is also the main capital of the Alliance. Even in retail, most people come here. With the Stormwind Stockades, there is a somewhat lengthy quest chain that will lead you all the way from Westfall, where the quest chain originates, is up here on the hill. Once you start doing the Defias quest chain, it will lead you into the Dead Mines to kill Van Cleef. Located at the end of the dungeon of the Dead Mines, you would have to defeat Edwin Van Cleef to get a note. Once Van Cleef is dead, there is a 100% chance that he will drop an unsent letter, which will send you through a huge quest chain that leads to Stormwind, that sends you to Red Ridge, and there's a few other quests that will send you back to the Stormwind Stockades, in which most of us have done that quest chain on many characters, both in retail, classic, maybe redoing it again in Season of Discovery. But what about the other dungeon? Yes, there is another instance right here in Stormwind. There's another instance-like place that looks exactly like the entrance to the Stockades. But if you'll notice right in front of me, there's no portal. But there is a portal. If we just take a quick walk through, we'll eventually hit a portal with a different kind of loading screen, and inside there were NPCs. These are just placeholders, but there either was or was not NPCs. But the idea was that this was a bigger like dungeon, very similar to the Stockades, with demons, mages, warlocks, of all kinds. According to the lore, there was the most foul of beings that were held prison in this part of Stormwind, as opposed to just the Defias. Now, in retail and other versions of the game, it's pretty empty. A lot of the NPCs in here are either placeholder or just didn't exist. To be fair, the client I'm on has a lot of placeholder NPCs, so it's mostly empty. And to my knowledge, there was no actual way into the dungeon. I mean, there was no portal. But this isn't unusual for Blizzard to do, as there were a lot of different portals in the game, both raid and dungeon portals, that were not used. Such as the portal in Strathholm, where it was originally supposed to be the portal to Nax, which during that era of the game, it was very common to have a raid entrance in a dungeon. Molten Core was in BRD, BWL was in Upper Blackrock Spire, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't uncommon for portals in general to either not get used or be in dungeons. I think some would speculate that this dungeon was just too big, but I don't think that is very true, because if you look at the size of BRD, that came out in vanilla, and that was a pretty sizable mega dungeon. So I don't think it was scrapped because the dungeon was too big. Granted, they went towards smaller dungeons into Burning Crusade and Wrath, so dungeons as big as BRD didn't really exist as often. with I think some of the bigger dungeons existing later in the game, and so on and so forth. But they never really made many dungeons as big as BRD. However, why this was scrapped is unknown, at least to me, considering this would have been easy access, especially for a lot of people. I mean, it's right here in Stormwind, but it would make sense to me that they might not have used it, just for the sake of there was already one dungeon in Stormwind. Another thing to note is the fact that there is no actual road here to the other part of the Stormwind vault, if you will, is what the original name for it is. There's no actual path inside the vault. It is completely surrounded by water. Unlike its counterpart, the Stockades, which has two different entrances, with the meeting stone introduced in Wrath of the Lich King being right out front of what I would like to think is the main entrance, and then there is a side entrance over yonder. But there is a path to both sides, again, unlike its counterpart, the vault, where there is no path. It is completely surrounded by water, and this is true even in retail to this. All I know for the Stormwind Vault. I am hoping and speculating that we might get it, as Blizzard has hinted, towards using content that either was scrapped or unused, like Hyjal, and Hyjal Summit wasn't used until Kata, but had existed from before Vanilla even was released, and there were lots of mentions of Hyjal beforehand. I think, just like the Karazhan Crypts, will most likely get used as it was already teased. I think we can potentially see the Stormwind Vault also get used. At least that is the hope. Could be on some copium with that one. However, I will have some links down below as more for those of you interested in the lore about the dungeon itself and what's supposed to actually be in there, and as far as actually going into the vault. So we will have to wait and see where our Season of Discovery goes and how far and how long it will actually last, because we're currently only in the BFD raid. If you guys do enjoy these kind of shorter lore videos about either unused content or that could potentially be used for Season of Discovery, or you just like these shorter lore videos in general, let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.